In Vinicius Jr. and Rodrygo Goes, Real Madrid have a problem that needs to be solved sooner rather than later. Now, starting with Rodrygo, he is in a situation that Real Madrid fans and Real Madrid are both very used to seeing and have seen before, but also one that is very unique and maybe we haven't seen before. Let me explain. We've had players who are still in the peak of their powers, who still have many years left at the top level and are still very young, are happy at Madrid and want to continue at Madrid, but Madrid are happy to listen to offers. Madrid are happy to let them go. Madrid want to cash in and make some money. Some examples of this are Arjen Robben. Robben is probably the best example I can give, but there's many like him. Robben was a player who was at the peak of his powers. He was great for Real Madrid. He was doing what he did at Bayern Munich later on in his career and what he's been doing for his whole career. He was a right winger who's a big threat and we cut in on his left foot and do a lot of damage. But when Cristiano Ronaldo came in, when that summer of 2009 happened and Real Madrid made a whole bunch of purchases and spent a whole bunch of money, they needed to recover some funds. And Arjen Robben was one of the sacrifices they made. Even though he was great and very, very good in the team and offered a lot to the team, they deemed him surplus to requirement and thought they would gain more from the money he would provide than having him in the team. He's not the only example. We also have an Angel Di Maria who was doing very, very good at Real Madrid, had just won La Decima, was one of our best players. I think he was the player of the final, was one of our best midfielders, but Real Madrid were in talks to bring in, I think it was Toni Kroos. It was either Kroos or James. It might have been both. They were in talks to bring those two in. James Rodriguez, I think, had a phenomenal World Cup. Kroos was an opportunity that we couldn't let go. A fantastic central midfielder for very, very cheap on the last year of his contract. Real Madrid had to take this chance to pick up those two players. But in having spent so much, they needed to recover some funds. Hence why Di Maria was sold to United for a very, very large sum. These situations are very, very similar to what's happening to Rodrygo. But the difference and the situation and the reason why the Rodrygo case is a bit unique is because unlike in those circumstances and in those examples, Real Madrid haven't picked up a forward or a winger that is coming in and that they think will do a lot better than the one they have, and they now need to recoup some of the money that they have spent on this new player. Instead, they have got no one coming in, no one really planned or lined up to spend money on, but they find themselves in this position where they're happy to listen to offers and let go of Rodrygo. Personally, I am very, very confused. I don't understand it. I really don't. Because the way I look at it, if Real Madrid let go of Rodrygo, then in a year, in 2 years, it doesn't matter how long it is, Real Madrid are going to be back on the market looking for someone to replace him. And they're going to spend just as much or more than however much they sell Rodrygo for. Because a team like Real Madrid cannot go into a season with just Vinicius and Mbappe in attack. Yes, they have subs. Yes, they have other players. But can a club like Real Madrid have no one to fall back on besides a Brahim Diaz, a Gonzalo Garcia? Who else is there? An Endrick. Don't get me wrong. Like, these are good players. They're all good players. But they're not big players. And a team like Real Madrid who want to win La Liga, who want to win the Champions League, who want to win the Copa del Rey, they want to win every competition they're in, who claim to be and who we know to be one of the biggest clubs in world football, cannot go into a season with just two big name attackers or two big attackers. It just won't work, and it will be... Imagine if one of them gets injured. Imagine if Vini or Rodrygo gets injured. Who comes in? You're telling me Endrick is good enough to play 1 month or 2 months or however long he'll need to play if someone's injured? Because I don't think he's ready. He's 19, he's young, but I don't think he's ready. Now, I could be proven wrong, and I'll be happy to be proven wrong, but nothing he's shown us so far says he's ready to start games. He's shown he's ready to partake more and be more involved in games because he was phenomenal in the Copa del Rey, but he hasn't shown he should start games. Gonzalo Garcia was good at the Club World Cup, but will he maintain that form for a season? Who knows? Brahim Diaz is a great super sub, but that's all he is. He's a super sub. He's someone who comes on in the last 20 or 30 minutes. Whenever he started, he's looked a bit uneasy. He hasn't looked anything like what he has. So you need a player like Rodrygo. You need a player of Rodrygo's quality. Whether he's challenging Mbappe and Vini for a starting spot in the starting 11, or he's occupying the right wing where he's unhappy because you want to play 4-3-3. He is a profile of player that you need and a quality of player that you need. So I personally don't want to see him go, but it seems like he is going to be out the door sooner or later. So Real Madrid need to figure out what they're doing with him and try to replace him if he does go. They will need to. Moving on to Vinicius Jr. Vini's situation is even stranger because his situation isn't one we've seen at Real Madrid. Vini is a phenomenal football player. He is my favourite player at Real Madrid, and he has given Madridistas many, many memories. He scored 2 big goals in 2 Champions League finals. He's been integral in those Champions League trophies, and he has been a phenomenal player for us ever since he's joined the club at 18. Yeah, he's not been a finished product, and he's had to work on his games, etc., all those things. But he's just been entertaining to watch on the field. Whenever he got the ball and he ran at players, it was just a joy to watch. But Vini's situation is very, very unique and something I've never seen at Madrid before. Because Vini is a big player, a starting player, and one of Madrid's best players. But he is approaching the final 2 years of his contract with the certainty, with it looking more likely that he's going to not be renewing. Or there's going to be issues with his renewal and he might have to be sold purely because Madrid aren't going to lose him for free. Now, we've never seen this before. We've had issues with big name players like Cristiano Ronaldo. Vini is not Cristiano Ronaldo, but he's the only example I really have to give. We have examples of Cristiano Ronaldo where he's wanted improved contracts. The club have kind of fought back, but eventually they're like, it's Ronaldo, we have to give him what he wants. They've given him the contract and everyone's happy and everyone does their thing. But when Ronaldo was approaching the latter years of his career, he asked for a new contract. Perez said no. Ronaldo ended up going to Juve. There does reach a point when players, even of Ronaldo's caliber, the club and Perez will say, that's enough. Enough is enough. We're done. You can go. And Ramos, he also played a similar game to Vini, where he was asking for a lot of money for while he still had time left on his contract. But again, he was older. We'll come back to that point in a second. But he was asking for a lot of money on his contract. And he was approaching the end of his contract. He had like a few months left or a year left. And the club was like, we're not offering you that money. This is what we're offering. Ramos was like, no, I want this much money. Eventually, Ramos was like, you know what, fine, that's cool. It wasn't the contract amount. It was the contract length. Ramos wanted the contract to be for 2 or 3 years. He didn't want an amount. He wanted length. And Madrid were like, we're only offering you 1 year because our policy is we only offer players over 30 1-year contracts. So there was a lot of back and forth in regards to that. Eventually, Ramos bit the bullet and said, okay, fine, I will take the 1-year contract. Let's go ahead. But then Perez came back and said it's too late. That contract is off the table. At that point, Real Madrid had already but they had already put in the works to sign David Alaba. The deal was done and he was coming in on a free agency deal. So Ramos was not really needed anymore. But Madrid were doing what Madrid do. They give you an offer or they tell you what they're going to do. And if they think you're not as valuable to keep going or to offer that, they won't change their mind. The only player they've ever changed their mind with is Ronaldo because it's Ronaldo. But even Ronaldo, when he became too old, they thought, nah, now it's reached a point where your value is constantly diminishing. We've got an offer on the table, or we can get an offer for you, even at this age. We're happy to let you go. It happened with Ramos as well. You're great, but you're getting on in age, and we're not happy to break our policy for you. Vini is young. Vini is still very young, and Vini still has a lot of years to give, and Vini is one of the best midfielders in world football. But Vinicius Jr. is playing a very, very dangerous game with Real Madrid and specifically Florentino Perez. They don't play these games. If Perez says no, eventually Vini's going to be like, okay, fine, just give me a contract for this amount. But Perez will be like, it's too late. That offer's off the table. You're for sale. Do you know the biggest problem with this whole situation? I feel like Vinicius is being stubborn. Vinicius and his camp are being stubborn because they're asking for an amount that they only would have really been able to ask for a year ago. A year ago, Vinicius was on top of his game. He was arguably the best player in the world and probably deserving of the Ballon d'Or. He was Real Madrid's best player. At that time, you can earn or ask for that kind of money. But a year on, when the team has been taken over by Kylian Mbappe, when Kylian Mbappe is not the best player on the team, all of a sudden, and you've had a terrible season, and you're nowhere near as decisive in the big games. Like, for example, in the Man City knockout stage game in the Champions League, it was Mbappe who got the 3 goals. Vinicius, I think, got not even an assist. He got the assist before the assist. So a year later, when you're not holding as many cards, it just doesn't make sense to ask for an amount you could have been asking for a year ago, or an amount you deserved a year ago. But anyway, with both Rodrygo and Vinicius, their situations kind of, I feel like they affect each other. The thing is, with Real Madrid having not changed their stance on Rodrygo, I feel like they're more than happy with the situation they're in with Vinicius. I can't imagine they would let Rodrygo go and then risk losing Vinicius next year or the year after for free. I can't see that kind of situation, because replacing just a Rodrygo or just a Vinicius is hard enough, but having to replace both of them, I mean, that's near impossible. Who in world football are you picking up that offers what those two offer? Do you get me? So, I mean, it's a tough situation. It's a difficult situation. It's not an ideal situation to be in, but this is where Real Madrid find themselves. Personally, like I said, I would be very, very happy for Rodrygo to stay another year and be given one more year's chance to showcase what he has in a new system with a new manager, and for Vinicius to kind of realize he's not getting what he wants in terms of money and accept what Madrid are offering, or come to a agreement where both parties are happy before things start turning bad. But anyway, I'm gonna call the video there. Thanks for watching and peace.